Now, to know more about the ASTI VRS app, here is an introduction from Engineer Alvin Iretamar, Chief Science Research Specialist and Head of Philippine Earth Data Resource Observation or Pedro Center, followed by Engineer Harold Brian S. Paler, Senior Science Research Specialist. Both speakers are from the Solutions and Services Engineering Division at the DOST-ASTI. Sirs?
Yeah, I hope you can hear me. Thank you, Therese, for the introduction and pleasant morning to everyone. Uh, as what Secretary De La Peña and Undersecretary Guevara have mentioned today, we are going to launch a fun and modern way to explore the country's space assets in a way that also caters to our current needs in this pandemic. When this app was first conceptualized, we originally intended to use this during live events, such as the National Science and Technology Week or NSCW, where we can actually meet people face to face. Before, we have taken a few students on tour of our ground receiving stations and other space-related facilities in ASTI and UP. This was our inspiration in making the app. We imagined to create a virtual reality simulation that will require VR glasses so we can show young people who visit our booths during NECWs a thing or two about our space assets. We're hoping it will have this wow effect and lead students to have genuine interest in science and technology. But that was back in 2019 when we can still meet in large events and use equipment without so much as a fear of catching a cold. Now, in the face of this pandemic, we had to be creative and think of better ways to deliver content and, more importantly, inspiration. Of course, we still aim to release a version of this app that can be played using VR glasses, but we also acknowledge the fact that households are more likely to have an Android phone than a VR headset. And now we welcome the ASTI Virtual Reality Simulation app. It is available right now on Google Playstore for free. The application will feature our 3 ground receiving stations all over the country, one here in Quezon City, which is called the ASTI-GRS, one in Davao City that we inaugurated in 2019, which is called the Davao GRS, and the third one in Iloilo, made possible by our friends in JICA through the ULAT project, and as you've guessed, we call it the Iloilo Ground Receiving Station. Aside from the ground receiving stations, you also have a station here where you can explore the different satellites that we are subscribed to here at the Pedro Center. The ASTI VRS app is our way to ensure that even if you are at the comfort of your home, even if our children are yet to meet in classrooms and field trips, we can still experience and explore the infrastructure that we have. As custodians of these facilities, it is our duty to bring it closer to everyone, especially to the youth who will one day become the future of space technology in the county. I do hope that you'll find the rest of the program to be informative and entertaining. I will pass the stage now to my colleague, Mr. Harold Brian Paler. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Ning. Okay, let me just share my screen for a while. Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Harold Brian Paler. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Philippine Earth Data Resource and Observation Center, or PEDRO. It is one of the inspiration on why we built the ASTI VR app. So essentially Pedro is a multi-mission ground receiving station and our gateway to Earth observation satellites. It was established last Q4 of 2016 and is used for the operation of our Philippine satellites, as well as the data acquisition from foreign-owned satellite partners. Moreover, the Pedro Center presents a system and infrastructure that can securely receive, process, exploit, and distribute spaceborne imagery. Currently, Pedro has 3 ground receiving stations, as mentioned by Sir Ning. We have one in ASTI. We have a 3.7 meter antenna. We also have a bigger one, a 7.3 meter in Davao, and the third one in Iloilo, which is a 3.5-meter antenna through JICA and the ULET project. But afterwards, after the project is finished, this will be transitioned to Pedro as well. So there are two main components of the ground receiving station. So the first one is the satellite tracking antenna. So the one on the right is a time lapse of the installation of the Davao GRS. And the one on the top left is the ASTI-GRS, and the bottom left is the antenna in Dumangas. Noticeably, in both the Davao and ASTI-GRS, they have a egg-shaped structure called the radome. This is used to protect the antenna from strong winds. And based on their specification, this can protect the antenna with Yolanda-like winds. So what does the tracking antenna do? Essentially, it tracks the satellite as it flies by from horizon to horizon. And during this time, we can communicate with satellite and perform its operations. The second component is the operation center. This is where all the satellite operations takes place. This is also where we conduct our mission planning, especially if there are events like typhoons or volcanic eruptions. It has several PC terminals with its relevant software that is needed for the operations of different satellites. Aside from this, the operation center also houses the hardware equipment needed to translate the signals received by the antenna. So this is the flow of how we operate satellites. The first stage is the planning. So we prepare the commands for the satellites. These commands contain the instructions for the capture of specific areas. The second is the upload stage. So when satellite pass by the ground station, we use our antenna system to communicate with it and upload the prepared commands. After which, the satellite will perform all the commands depending on the date and time of execution. After all the commands are finished, a new set of commands will be uploaded. And upon successful upload of commands, the satellite can now capture the images over the area of interest. After this, during the next pass of the satellite, it will point its antenna to the ground receiving station and download the captured images. And after which, this will be processed and distributed to different stakeholders. So aside from satellite operations, Pedro also manages the subscriptions of satellite imagery from commercial providers. So currently, the Pedro Center has access to Diwata 2, our own satellite, Novasar, which is developed by SSTL. We have ComSat 3, ComSat 3A, and ComSat 5 from Korea, and the free ones, Terra and Aqua. We also have access to Worldview and GUI from Maxar, SkySat and Dove from Planet. And soon, when the Mula satellite will be launched and operationalized, most likely it will use one of our ground receiving stations. So this is the Pedro Portal, wherein our stakeholders can access all the satellite images from the Pedro Center. So currently, we have more than 36,000 images at our disposal. And as of 2021, the Pedro Center has catered to at least 49 government agencies and academic institutions. So we have given them different images based on their requirements. So some few captures or images that we have at the Pedro Center. So we have this image of Typhoon Dante when it made its presence felt in Onjongan, Romblon last June 3, 2021. This is captured using ComSat 3 satellite image. ComSat 3 satellite, sorry. And then this one is the first typhoon that hit, the first typhoon of this year that hit the Philippines. So this was a capture using SkySat satellite in Tandag City, Surigao del Sur. last February 2022, February 22, 2021. So the Pedro Center, upon its establishment, has been catering to tours and site visits from different sectors and academic institutions. This is where we explain the functionalities and the operations of Pedro. We also attend several events like RSTW and NCW to showcase one of the space technologies of DOST. And however, because of the pandemic, we cannot do this anymore for the time being. So through this VR app that was developed, we still have this alternative platform and can continue to bring the GRS experience to you, this time virtually. So for my last slide, just a summary. So Pedro is a multi-mission ground receiving station and our gateway to Earth observation satellites. Multiple ground stations and multiple satellite assets are essential for on-demand satellite imagery needs. Distribution sites are provided for government agencies and stakeholders to gain access to the satellite images. And lastly, the ASTI VRS was developed to bring the GRS experience to you, but this time virtually. That's it. Thank you very much.